Hi everybody, it's Carla with Cobweb Corner, and this is FlossTube number 30. I can't believe we're up to 30. It just blows me away. So I had a great 2 weeks. It has been 2 weeks since my last video. I'm going to try to get back on track, but seems that life is just getting in the way lately. Since I talked to you last, I did go to Florida with my husband for his business trip. He was there for 5 nights and I was there for 3 nights, 2 days, and I had a great time. I didn't get to see much of him because he was working at this resort. They did have really long days. Hi, Bo. And I did get to have supper with him one night, so that was fun. But the full 2 days I spent at the spa and the pool. I had a pedicure, I had a massage, and it was 85 degrees, and I just sat under an umbrella at the swimming pool and just listened to an entire book. To see if I can remember what I listened to. Oh, I'll put a thing in the comments here. You got to get down, little girl. I'll put a thing in the comments if I can remember what my book was. Oh, I know what it was. It was The Silent Patient. And it was pretty interesting. It was kind of a murder mystery, and it was about a woman who killed her husband, and everybody knew she killed her husband, but as soon as she did it, she didn't talk again ever. And there was really no motive. And so she went into a psychiatric ward, and a doctor came in, and he was determined to get her to talk and to understand what had gone on. So, and I think he started treating her like 7 years after the murder or something like that. And so it was pretty interesting. It was good. So I listened to the whole book while I was at the pool. Thank you to everyone who had asked or commented about my dad. My dad is doing a lot better. They have adjusted his medication, and I think that was a lot of the problem. He's gained back. He had lost 14 pounds, and he's gained back some weight. He's eating better. He has more energy. So, you know, still not 100%, but a lot better than he was. And this last week, my daughter was also home. Not this week, but the week before when we were in Florida. And she went to see them twice. And she's the only grandchild on my side of the family. There are 8 grandkids on my husband's side. And my dad and my mom are just like, she is God's gift to grandchildren. And they were just thrilled to be able to see her twice and visit with her. And so that helped things too. So thank you everyone for your kind wishes and your kind comments. I really do appreciate that. So this week I did not do any stitching, but I did do a lot of stitchy stuff. The first thing I want to talk about is I started looking into kind of antique samplers and sampler history. I'm not an antique person as far as decorating my house and stuff, so I don't really have any interest in purchasing antique samplers, but the whole idea of the antique sampler in the American history is pretty fascinating to me. And I started looking into it just a little bit and found out that a lot of my thoughts on what the samplers were and how they were made and who made them were incorrect, and I was pretty naive. And so I ordered a couple of books that get into the history of samplers and sampler making. And what I found out was, well, first of all, I'll show you the 2 books I bought. The first one, and I just got these used on Amazon. I think I have another one coming off of eBay. I will put a link to these in my Amazon shop, and there's a link to my Amazon shop in my more information below. So the first one is called Samplers and Sampler Makers, and it is by Mary Jane Edmonds. And this book is really interesting. It's got her personal collection and what she did to track down who made each sampler, and more importantly, who the instructor was. And I found that with both books I've received so far. The other set is a 2-book set it's called Girlhood Embroidery by Betty Ring or King. Is it Ring or King? Sorry, I don't have my cheaters on. ring. And so you get 2 full sets, and it's comes in a nice big jacket. Sorry, I'm a little spaced out here. I was looking for the date. It's a pictorial needlework, 1650 to 1850. American samplers in pictorial needlework. And comes in this nice case. I got this used, but they are in excellent condition. And what I'm finding out, and I'm just getting started because I just got these a couple days ago, is that samplers and the women who taught, or the people who taught young girls sampler work, was actually a form of formal education. And there's not a lot, so there were actually schools where this was the main form of instruction. And I'm not going to say a lot about it because I need to read more about it before I say something incorrectly, but very little is known on that. And these 2 women, and I'm sure many others, they've kind of devoted their work to tracking down the teachers and the school mistresses along with the family genealogy of these samplers. And the amount of work that they put into their research is pretty amazing. I've got a few pages earmarked, and I think what I'll do in my upcoming videos is read a little bit from the history of the samplers books for you, because I find it really interesting. If you don't find it interesting, let me know, or let me know whether you like it. And you can always, just fast forward if it's not something you're interested in. But the introduction, this chapter is called Needlework in Women's Education, Its Rise and Fall. And there's a quote. It says, "A girl should be taught to sew and not to read, unless one wishes to make a nun of her." And it's an early Italian proverb. And it says it expresses the Western world's attitude toward female education in the dawn of Christianity until the Renaissance. It says a girl's acceptable destiny, regardless of her station, was a life of domesticity and literacy in a world of few books, and literacy in a world of few books had little value. Sewing, however, was an essential skill as well as a respectable means of artistic expression. Therefore, from earliest recorded history until the Industrial Revolution, it was a primary subject in the education of girls, both at home and at school. So I really like that line that she put in there, that it was an acceptable form of artistic expression. I know that painting was also an acceptable form for a long time. Okay, then it goes into the earliest known reference to a sampler. So when did samplers come into history? And that was in an account book of Elizabeth of York on July 10th, 1502. I just think that's so interesting. When a payment was recorded for an elm of linen cloth for a sampler for the queen. And it says it was doubtful that the queen herself was going to create this sampler, but that it was being ordered for the queen. And then the oldest sampler in actual sampler that's still around is from the late 16th century. Jane Bostock worked the only signed and dated sampler known to survive from the reign of Elizabeth. It came to light in 1960, meaning it was found in 1960. And this is a picture of that sampler. Isn't that interesting? So that is the oldest one known, and that's actually signed and dated from the 16th century, which would be the 1500s. That's just amazing to me. It also says that serious speculation about the origin of samplers began in the 19th century, but widespread contention that the earliest samplers must have been long, narrow ones kept on rollers is certainly subject to question. So a lot of people speculate that the samplers, which was a sample of different stitches, were on long bands and they were kept on special rollers. And this author is saying that that's questionable. The origin belief that they rolled up now seems impossible to trace, along with the alleged rollers for that purpose. So they can't find any evidence that they were rolled up, and they can't find any rollers that were used for that purpose. They were, let's see. It now seems evident that samplers and the word as applied to them first appeared during the early Renaissance, possibly in a nunnery or at court, and that they were specific accoutrements for the formal education of women. Therefore, the custom proliferated with the growth of schools for children of the middle class and was further accelerated by the craze for embroidery that swept across Europe during the 16th century. It's said that the devotion to needlework soon became a way of life among women and girls in upper class households, which is kind of what we're hoping to keep going. It says most likely samplers were always made by young women under the instruction of an experienced needlewoman. If intended as pattern records, where they had samples of different kind of stitching and different kind of patterns, they were no doubt favored by astute teachers as proofs of proficiency to be presented to those parents who have indulged their daughters in education. So samplers, and I'll get into this in the future, but what I've been reading is that the samplers were a way for the teachers to prove that they were good teachers. So the better the children did on their samplers, the better proof that was that the teacher did a good job. So I thought that was really interesting too. And then I'm going to just share a sampler out of the book. This one is Nancy Silby's sampler, wrought in the 10th year of her age in Barrington, April 28th, 1808. And it's silk on linen with silk chenille and paint on appliqued cotton for the scenery. So this is the sampler. And isn't that amazing? And it just blows me away that a 10-year-old girl did this. And this part was painted. So the scenery and the background of the scenery was painted, and the rest is stitch work. And I'll get into this in the future, but also, I always thought that, wow, I just can't believe that these, 10-year-old and 12-year-old girls could make these amazing sampler patterns. And actually they didn't. Their instructors made the patterns, and if they were at school, then most likely all of the children in the class were stitching the same sampler at the same time, and inserting their own names and dates and stuff like that. So that's really interesting to me too, and that is how they can identify a sampler as far as what school it might have been from, and what teacher or school mistress might have created the sampler. So that's a little choppy there. I'm sorry for it's kind of not real smooth orientation into that, but I think it's just really, really interesting. I had a lot of misconceptions about the importance of the American samplers in their education of women, and I really just kind of envisioned, like you would see a movie, Pride and Prejudice or something, and all the women are sitting around having tea and stitching on their needlework and gossiping, and that's kind of what I envisioned. And really, it was more a way to have a formal education for girls, and I think that's just really interesting. So I hope that you enjoyed that. I really did, and I'm going to enjoy reading the books, I think. So I'll continue to share more, and I'll try to make it a little more fluid the next time. The other thing I did that wasn't stitching but was stitchy related was I went ahead and purchased WinStitch, and I looked at a lot of different programs. I had no idea which one to buy. I looked at what some of the kind of big designers are using and stuff, and I looked at PC Stitch and downloaded a demo of that, and I decided on WinStitch. I don't really know why, but I've loaded that. I had an idea for a small, easy chart, and I've got it in. I need to figure out how to assign the colors that I want. I have standard DMC colors assigned, and I want to do some very variegated threads or hand dyed threads to get a little bit of dimension in the stitching. But it's a real easy pattern, and I've spent a few hours on it just trying to learn the program and everything. It is very confusing. It's not, there's a lot of stuff I wish worked easier in the program, but it's fun and I'm enjoying it. And maybe someday I'll have a pattern to share with you. We'll see. I may have this little announcement today, and then you may never hear of WinStitch again. We'll see. The problem is I gotta make the pattern, and then I need to stitch it up and see if it's even remotely good on cloth once I've actually made the pattern. So that'll be the test, and that all takes time, but it's been a lot of fun. Like I said, I don't know whether I'll go forward with it, but it's kind of taken away from my stitchy time. Okay. The winner from last week. So last week, the giveaway was Strawberry Shortcake from the Amazing Dessert series by Glendon Place. And that's the chart. And the question was, I had showed a video of all of the charts in the Amazing Dessert series. And my question was, which one is your favorite? And we had 15 comments. And the winner is Susan Wagner. And her favorite was Grasshopper Pie, which was Shades of Green. And Susan, I have your address, and I will get that in the mail to you. So thank you, everybody who commented, and congratulations to Susan. So the business topic for today. The business topic for today is secure SSLs, which makes your site secure. Secure socket layer is what it's called. And especially if you use Chrome, but really any browser, sometimes you'll go to a site and in the browser address line, it'll say not secure. Or worse, you'll come up and you'll go to a website and you'll get an error message first, and it'll say, this website is not secure. Don't go into here, whatever. And often the website is secure, but they don't have a secure socket layer. And a secure socket layer is a way to give you kind of your website its own unique space on the internet, and it's much more secure than sharing the space on the internet. And I'm not saying that in real technical terms. I'm trying to make it easy. But the reason I bring this up was because this week everything was going fine. And I came downstairs to start working on orders and tried to get into my admin panel where I get to the administration side of my website to see all my orders and everything. And this error came up and it says, this is an insecure site. Don't go in here. And I'm like, what the heck? And then I go and I just typed in www.cobwebcorner.com and to go to my store. The same thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And it turned out that my SSL, which is a subscription, it's a cost, had expired, and I didn't know it had expired. So since I hadn't paid the bill, then I no longer got the protection of the secure socket layer. And it looked like when you went to my site that I was a dangerous site to visit. And I'm like, oh man, what is going on? And I figured that was probably what the problem was. So I called support, who's located in Florida, and I said, can you look into this? My site is basically down. Nobody's going to go there. And they said, oh, you didn't renew your thing. And I like, well, I don't think I got any notices. And I said, what email did you send the notices to? And he said, well, the last notice was sent on September 14th. And I'm like, okay, first of all, as the days approached, maybe I should have gotten another notice. So, because it was November 12th that this happened. So he said, the last notice was sent on September 14th. And I'm like, okay. And then what email was it sent to? And it was sent to an email that I am almost positive is not a valid email. So I never got these notifications. So I asked, well, what do we need to do? And they said, well, you need to get your credit card out. So I renewed. I had actually just purchased the SSL for the first time because Google Chrome browser had started to make it really evident that with this not secure sign up on in the address line, and it looked bad. Even though my site was secure and you got to my site, it didn't give a lot of trust to the buyer. So I had purchased this a year ago for the first time, and it was working great. And then to repurchase, I could either pay $99 a year or $159 for 2 years. So I went ahead and paid the $159 for the 2 years. So now when you go to my site, I actually have an HTTPS address. You can get there with HTTP, www.cobwebcorner.com, but I have my own HTTPS, which is secure website, which I've had for a long time. It's just that it blew up and caused a lot of problems this week. So I thought I'd bring that up as another expense and another thing that we worry about when we create our websites. I must say that I shop on a lot of wholesale sites and look at other cross-stitch sites where this is not secure, and 99.99999% of the time you're going to be fine. But what it means is that those sites are a little bit more susceptible to being hacked. So you're just a little bit more safe when you go to one that doesn't say not secure. So that's the business topic for today. I also worked on, I am really trying hard not to continue to buy and to get my business credit cards paid off. So I continued to work on my last wholesale order from both Witcheld and Hoffman. And I did place an order this week to resupply all of my needle nannies from Zappy Dots. And they have a lot of needle nannies from your favorite designers. So I was out of stock on a bunch of those, and I put the order in earlier this week and hope to get that soon. But I did enter some new inventory. So first I'm going to show you some of the brand new stuff from Hoffman and Witcheld that I got. The first one is, I absolutely love this design. It's from 2014 Plum Street Samplers, and it's A Ghoul-Tide Welcome to Thee. So it's A Ghoul-Tide Welcome. And I love this design. And what I love about it is I love the witch and the horse. Isn't that cool? And then this large flower. So I really like that one. Then I got Gabrielle Rose Birth Announcement from La Di Da. So unique, simple design. This would be a relatively quick baby gift, and it's not, it's just really classy, really kind of elegant. I really like that. Then we got another in the Let's Bloom series, or the Let's series by Ursula Michael. From Imaginating. This is Let's Bloom, which welcomes us into spring. These designs, the Let's series by Ursula Michael is so popular. They are super fast stitches, and there are dozens of them. If you just go to our site and type in the word Let's, Let''s, you should get a good representation of what's there, and they are really quick stitches, and some of them are really clever. Bobby G Designs. This one is Sweet Baby Sampler. She has so many colorful baby samplers. This one is New Baby Boy, also by Bobby G. And this one is Little Boys Are Made Of, also by Bobby G. Lots of detail, lots of bright colors. Brand new from Stony Creek, Welcome Fall. Just released. Also just released, Holly Jolly by Luminous Fibers. So cute. I love the snowman on the sled being pulled by Rudolph. And then A Cardinal's Carol. Also brand new. Just released. Then I added, I was missing this one in the Intriguing Insects series by Nora Corbett. That is Miss Beetle. And then from Stony Creek, this is so cool. It's called A Quilted Hearts Garden Collector Series Afghan. I cannot imagine stitching this, but it says, home is where you hang your heart. Here's a better picture of the whole design. This is a, let's see, 50-page booklet with I don't know how many different, 49 blocks. So there's 49 separate blocks. Of course, there's a lot of negative space. There's a lot of space you don't stitch. But isn't that amazing? I would love to see this done. Stony Creek has a lot of collector series Afghan. There's a butterfly one. Oh, I can't remember, but they are really neat. I admire anyone who would take that on. So that is some of the brand new inventory from the wholesale accounts. Next, I'm going to show you, I started going through some of my pre-owned inventory. I'm actually getting down there quite a bit. I still have a few drawers full. And I was going through just kind of picking out things that I thought might be worth listing right now. So what I'm going to show you next was from personal collections that I have purchased in the past. Some of it I purchased many years ago. I have so much dead inventory. That's going to be another business topic someday. Dead inventory is inventory you've purchased, but it's not out there for sale. So you paid the money for it and it's just sitting there, and nobody can see it, nobody can buy it, so it's not doing a lot of good. And I have some dead inventory from like 2005. It's like, blah. So anyway, 3 for T, new. It's pre-owned. It's been open, but the pattern is like brand new. And again, I say this every time, but if you shop on Cobweb Corner's site, every single chart has a condition statement in the description in red. That condition statement will tell you whether it's a new chart, meaning it's new from a wholesale distributor like Hoffman, or it's new from a store that went out of business. And if it's pre-owned, it came from a personal collection, and any type of wear or damage will be described in that description. Next one, I couldn't believe I found this in my inventory that was waiting to be listed. This is Carousel by Theresa Wenzler. This chart is in excellent to new condition. I would say new. It's got a little bit of aging, but I don't think it's ever been used. That's on our site right now. I actually started stitching this in 18. That's about how old I feel. In 1980s. I got about 1/4 of the way done, and it's sitting in my drawer. I haven't touched it for 35 years. So yeah. Theresa Wenzler's charts are absolutely stunning, but oh, those blended threads, I tell you. Another vintage or older chart, Santa series, Coca-Cola. This is series number 2, Wherever I Go. That's by Pegasus Originals. I also found this one. I love P. Buckley moss. I actually have an original P. Buckley moss that my mother gave us for our wedding. And we have that hanging upstairs in our dining room. And this one is called Grandpa's House. And I think it's brand new. P. Buckley moss's charts are easily scuffed. So they never look that great. I don't know if you can see it. It doesn't look too bad. But they often have some storage wear on them. But this one appears to be unused. So that's Grandpa's House. Then I found this one, The Spirit of Christmas by Lavender and Lace. And it's possible this one's been used. It's still stapled. I think it's brand new. Vintage one that's sold well in the past. This is Seascapes by Tidewater Originals. And it's just got shells, lighthouses, ships, seagulls, things like that. That is from 1979. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? It's like, wow. And then Margaret Designs by Margaret McKee. And she does sampler reproductions. This is a sampler reproduction. It's called Mary Payne, Payne sampler. And then this is Nursery Sampler 1. It's just a bunch of very country borders and a birth announcement and an alphabet sampler. Then I found a big set of Linda Myers by Art of Cross Stitch, and these are all from 1985 to 1986, and they're based on her watercolors, and they are So beautiful. This one's called After the Rain. And Daisy's Luck. Isn't that beautiful? And Rubies and Lace. And then she's got some collections. This one's called Along a Country Lane. It's kind of seasonal and country designs. And these are actually, if I remember right, yeah, these are actually quick stitches. They're not, they look a little bit complicated, but they're really not. There's a lot of stitching of the same color, like the side of the house there. So there's a lot of stitching, but you're not doing a lot of color changes. And then Amish Seasons, same type of thing. And Country Quilts. So all of these are Art of Cross Stitch Linda Myers. And then I got some magazines. I got the 2009 edition of Just Cross Stitch Christmas Ornaments. This does have wear, you can see there, and that is described in the condition statement. So the lower corners are bent, and there's some little bit of wear where it's folded, but the inside pattern pages are really nice. And you know, the Just Cross Stitch ornament issues have gotten a lot of criticism lately because there's some repeats, which isn't good. You know, people will take designs that they've already made and kind of recycle them, and that's a shame. But it's such, I mean, you get 75 projects, and the designers that contribute to these magazines is just unreal. Blackbird Designs, Blue Ribbon, Fancy That, La Di Da, Milady's Needle. I mean, here, look at this. Is, you know, look at all these different designers. They've all contributed a free design, and so really, you know, for $4 or whatever, I don't know if this was $4 or $4.50. It's a great deal. It's just a really good deal. Magazines in general are usually a good buy as far as number of patterns. This one is Cross Stitch Stony Creek, February 2005. This one's got quite a bit of wear. It is described in the condition statement. Here's one of the patterns. Bald eagle feeding, going to her nest. You know, I really don't think, looking at this, I don't think baby eagles look like that. Those look like little baby seagulls, but I don't think they're white, but maybe they are. And this one's got an interesting design. It's a tribute to Amelia Earhart, and it's got her plane. I think that's pretty cool. So that's one of the magazines. And then Cross Stitch Sampler, Fall 1994. Again, it's pre-owned. Try to find it's got a sewing case with different stitches. The Cross Stitch Sampler magazines do have a lot of designs with specialty stitches. It's not always just cross stitch. Stitchery magazine, May 1998. This one is in really good condition. Trying to see, this is a wonderful canvas of Christine Cooley. She's got some cool designs in here. Look at that. Those are neat. Very primitive folk art. It's got Wisteria Fairy, and that is by, who is that by? Karen Weaver. So that magazine. Then I've got Cross Stitch Sampler, June 1995, and McCall's Christmas Cross Stitch. I think this is 1991, and it's got a lot of minis, and then it's also got quilting, some quilting and applique type of stuff. So this one's got a lot of aging. You can see the patterns are yellowed, but they're in excellent condition otherwise. I mean, you just can't prevent aging of that quality of paper. You just, you know, you can take pretty good care of it, and it's still gonna yellow over time. And this one's so 30 years old. Let's see. Yeah, 30 years old. So, all right. So those are just a sample of some of the things that I've had in stock. Now, this week's giveaway. Let's see. This week's giveaway is called Simple Little Big Love by Alessandra Adelaide Needleworks. I don't know if I said that right. Isn't that cute? This is a pre-owned chart. Came from a personal collection, but it looks brand new. I don't know that it was ever stitched. So the question for this, just say I would like to stitch the doves. We're going to call those doves. Do you think those are doves? Peacocks? Maybe they don't really look like peacocks. How about I'd like to stitch the heart? I'd like to stitch the heart. And don't use the word giveaway, because then we have bots that come in and read us and stuff. So, and try to enter our giveaways. That's it. This week, I really hope to get back to stitching. And tomorrow at 5 o'clock in the morning, we're getting up and we leave. I think our flight leaves around 6:30 in the morning. And we're flying up to my husband's family in Grand Forks, North Dakota. And we're going to my niece, I have one niece who is still in high school. And she's a junior. All my other nieces and nephews are either graduated from college or in college. And she is performing in a high school presentation of Mamma Mia. And I love Mamma Mia. I saw it twice in Las Vegas, and it was so fun. It was just such a great thing. And their high school is super small, but their productions are amazing. We went to one last year and got to see her and her sister perform. And I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a super quick trip. We leave at, like I said, 6:30 in the morning, and we come back the next day. I think we leave around noon or 1 o'clock. We're home by 5 o'clock. So one night, barely 24 hours, but we get to see most of the family. So it's going to be a great trip. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I hope you get a lot of stitching in before my next FlossTube video. Thanks a lot for watching, and thanks for subscribing. Happy stitching, everybody.